Today I'm here with Dr. Mary Hayden, research professor at the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. Dr. Hayden, thank you for being here with us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Of course. I'll start by having you tell our viewers of your primary area of research.
So most of my research has focused on the intersection of weather, climate, and human health, particularly with an emphasis on vector-borne diseases or diseases that are transmitted by mosquitoes and ticks primarily.
Tell us about some of your favorite past research you've done.
Okay. Well, I've done a lot of work on vector-borne diseases at the US-Mexico border, but I've also done work in Africa, and probably my favorite project had to do with working with the traditional healers in Uganda. This was a project that was funded by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, and it was trying to enhance surveillance for plague in the northwest corner of Uganda. And so I started out by going out to one or two of the traditional healers, or witch doctors as they call themselves, and asking them if they would be interested in working with us. And they were very interested in this, willing to talk about their practices, how they went about doing this. And we did a sort of snowball technique where we took our original traditional healers and then asked them to invite others. And so we started out with 11 traditional healers, and the initial cohort ended up being 10 because one of the traditional healers, Johnny, was not viewed favorably by the others because they thought he practiced black magic, so we decided that maybe that wouldn't be part of what we wanted to do. And so we actually trained everyone in recognition of plague and had them working with the clinicians in the local clinics. So the clinicians and the traditional healers met each other, decided that it would be beneficial to both if they worked together, and the traditional healers would then report any suspected plague cases to the clinic. The clinic would send a motorcycle to pick the patient up, and the patient would be transported for treatment. We found that this really helped us with a lot of the treatment and the recognition of plague in this region. One of the things that we learned through talking with the traditional healers is that when someone in this area dies suddenly, people assume that it was black magic or witchcraft that killed them, and so they don't bother reporting any of this. And so it took a lot of training and a lot of talking through this to ensure that when someone had a fever, the witch doctors would check them for buboes, which are a sign of bubonic plague. So we would have them checking for buboes under their arms, in the groin area, and on their neck to make sure that it wasn't just an assumption that everybody had malaria when they had a fever. And if they saw a bubo, they called the clinic would send the motorcycle, or if it was close enough, they would walk with the patient to the clinic. The traditional healers all had lanyards that had a plague picture on it and their names, and so if a person showed up with this lanyard at the clinic, they were able to go to the front of the line because it was assumed that this was a very serious illness that the person had. So gradually over time, we went back and trained every year. We engaged about 45 different traditional healers or witch doctors in this project. And it was really interesting because some of the witch doctors were more herbalists. So they'd been trained in herbal medicine by a German NGO, and they had their own gardens where they grew herbs that they knew how to treat worms or even malaria or different things with these herbs. But others were way out there. They were in some of the back reaches of the forests we went to. These were witch doctors who had the snakes and the bones and all kinds of things in their treatment room. And so it was really interesting to see the difference between them. But I think the common theme was that everybody was interested in the health of their population, of their villagers, and were very interested in working with us. And in fact, we have had, since this project began, over 250 referrals for plague. So it's been a very successful surveillance project.
Awesome. Cool. What are just some of your current projects right now?
So one of the projects I'm working on right now is funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And the idea behind this is that through research that we've done in the past, we recognize the importance of bringing more women into the control of mosquitoes. And in particular, we've been working on malaria. One of the ways that we've gone about doing this is to do some formative research in Indonesia and in Kenya to look at the role of women currently at a household level, at a community level, and at a programmatic level. This research then was translated into stakeholder workshops where we brought together people from many different sectors, including the ministries of health, vector control or mosquito control, other public health agencies, women's groups, community leaders, and also just community members to help us better understand what kind of barriers existed to them working in the field of mosquito control, and how we might overcome those barriers. And so we actually made sure that when we had these workshops that people were engaged in coming up with realistic and concrete solutions to the existing barriers to having more women working in the field.
Awesome. That's cool. So what is some research you would like to get done in the future, or you're looking at to get done?
Yes, I would like to continue with working with more women, bringing women into this field more. We'd like to do some pilot studies on testing out whether these solutions actually work in the field. So we've done all the research looking at what women tell us the problems are. We've done the research and had the stakeholder workshops on coming up with the solutions to these problems. But what we haven't done yet is to actually go into the field and do this work with women heading up some of these vector control agencies. And so we'd like to definitely move toward that in the future.
Cool. Okay, so that's really all the questions I have for you.
Okay.
Thank you for your time today.
Yes. Thank you for asking me here.
Of course, and we look forward to seeing what comes out of your future research.
Thank you.